So we're going to go ahead and get started because Steve and I are involved with the celebration of light and remembrance at Clark Memorial today. It's a service for people who have lost loved ones. They can go and light a candle. It's a lovely service. And so Steve and I are, as pastors here, it's a large churches together thing. So we're going to be taking part in that. And I want to make sure we've got some time to get ready, go home and get ready. So we're going to try to be done by 11:30. So that's the plan. But I don't want you to hurry. I don't want you to rush especially when you're cutting things, because we don't want to hurt ourselves. But what we're going to do is I have already peeled your veg and put it into and cut it into manageable bits, so it'll be easier for you guys to cut. So you all know who we are, so I'm not going to go through that. We're going to talk quickly about knife safety. Remember to make sure your knife always stays on the cutting board when you're not using it. Never put a knife in a sink full of water. Never try to catch a falling knife. If the knife falls off your workspace, move out of the way. You want to keep your mind on the task. If you're at home and you're prepping for dinner and the doorbell rings or your phone buzzes, put that knife down and then go tend to that. You want to make sure that you choose the right knife for the job. You've got 2 knives on your workstation. Whichever knife you feel most comfortable with is the one that you should use. Always, always, always tuck your fingers. We can go to the cam. Remember, when you're cutting, you always want for your, whatever it is you're cutting, to have a flat surface. So if it's round, like my sweet potatoes are round, I've already cut yours in half so that they're flat. But if yours is rounded, so this is kind of big for me to cut this way. So I'm going to cut it, tucking my fingers. I'm going to cut it in half. And then, so that I've got a safe surface to work with, I am going to put my fingers on either side of the knife. I'm going to cut right down the middle. Then I've got a safe, non-rolly veg to work with. And so that's what you guys have in your baskets. Now, I'm not always going to prep your vegetables for you, but today is an exception. And so you get out of peeling duty today. Lucky you. So those are our knife skills. Always, always, always cut away from your body. I've got a friend who will cut things like this. Try to avoid doing that, just because you don't want to cut your fingers. And it's important also to have sharp knives. And if you have sharp knives, that's another reason you don't want to cut towards yourself. You don't want to cause injury while you're cutting. So those are our knife safety points. So what we're also going to do now is we're going to go through our ingredients list. The recipe that we're doing today is one we developed back in Augusta, Georgia at the Icebox Urban Farm campus. It was developed as a slow cooker meal, and so this is one of those things, and you'll notice on your directions, I call it a chop and drop recipe, so you can just chop it and drop it in the pan. It's a great one-pot meal. You can prep this ahead of time, throw it in a zip top bag, and stick it in your freezer. In fact, there are pantry items, the tomatoes and the beans, so you could prep everything else, put that in a zip top bag, write on the bag the instructions, and to add 2 cans of drained black beans and 2 cans of tomatoes, and then you've got a quick meal ready to go in your slow cooker at any time, right? So the rest of this, so all of this can be frozen and then thawed and used in your slow cooker, or you can just put it right in your pot like we're going to do today. So our ingredients are a tablespoon of olive oil, which you already have in your pot, 500 grams of sweet potatoes, peeled and diced. And what we want to do is we want to, do I have a quick cam somewhere, Steve, that you could pull up for me? What I'd like you to do is you're going to cut batons. See how I'm tucking my fingers here? You're going to cut batons that look like this, right? And then I want you to cut them into cubes that are about this size. So that's the size that you're looking for. And the reason that we want to do that is because sweet potatoes can take a little longer to cook. And so the smaller the cubes, right? The smaller the cubes, the more surface area there is and the faster they'll cook. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to, would you go back to my ingredients list for me, Steve? There we go. So we've got 500 grams of sweet potatoes, a yellow onion, a bell pepper, garlic, chili powder, cumin, dried oregano. I did not include the cayenne. You can add that later if you'd like to. 2 cans of tomatoes, 2 cans of beans, and 2 stock cubes. And that is what you have on your workstations. So right now, what I'd like you to do is chop all of your veg, your onion, your sweet potato, and your peppers into small cubes, and we're going to get those in our pots before we even turn our heat on. And so today, because this recipe, the longest part is the chopping and everything is pretty quick, and then you've got your cook time. And it takes between 20 and 30 minutes for your chili to cook. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to chop everything, get it in here, let it get going. And then as it cooks and we let it simmer, we will talk about why beans are so good for you and why it's important for us to be eating more beans than we probably already do. Now, you guys normally would be paired up with somebody helping you cut your vegetables. So if you would like one of our volunteers to help you, just let us know. Okay. So Susan would like some help cutting her veg. Colin, are you okay?
I had problems with because I saw squirrel.
Yeah. All right. All right. Fantastic. Again, I don't want you to feel rushed. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead and take that lid off and start putting your veg in the pot. I love sweet potatoes. They're so good for you. They're high in beta carotene. They're high in fiber. They're delicious, especially the way Steve makes them for Thanksgiving. He cooks them with butter and brown sugar and cinnamon, and then he tops them with marshmallows and broils them. Oh, and we call that a vegetable. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I think we're gonna have some of those for our Christmas Day meal. And you know, the cool thing about this chili is when you kind of get the hang of the recipe, you can add anything you want to this. It would be good with carrots added to it. You know, it's a great, versatile recipe. You could even add mince if you wanted to, or you could add some chicken breast to it or chicken thigh. Yeah, and that would be really, really good in it as well. Yes, they are. You're doing a good job, Colin. Nice job, you guys. Are you just managing everything for us? Good. Nice. That's a great size. Oh, good job, you guys. Very good. Yeah. Excellent. Nice job, Colin. All right, is that everything? Just about? Okay. All right, so when you're finished chopping all of your veg, you can go ahead and you can put your garlic in there. Yeah, this is all of the spices on your list. It's chili powder and cumin and oregano. You can dump all of that in there. You need to go ahead and add your 2 stock cubes. Crumble those up a little bit with your fingers. Just a little bit. All right. Good. Okay, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to add your canned tomatoes. Watch those lids because they're very sharp, so just go ahead and dump those in. And then what I do, just as habit, I always tuck that tin lid back in the tin just like that before I put it in the recycle. You want to do the same with your beans. Get your beans in there. Nice. And then on your workspace, you have a pitcher, a jug with 3 cups of water in it. You want to get that in there as well. All right. And then you're going to give it a stir, and we're going to turn on our fire. Does everybody remember how to turn on their hob? You just turn it all the way. There you go. No? There you go. Good, good, good. And be sure and manage that flame. What you want to do is we're going to have it high at the beginning, and then we're going to let it come up to a boil. Go ahead and put our lids on. And then once that starts to bubble, we'll turn it down to a simmer. And we'll just let it simmer with the lid on. Good. Very good. Very good, everybody. Good job. Fantastic. Oh, hold on. There we go. Good job. Good. And you can let it be full whack right at the beginning.
Fingers.
It's okay. Perfect. That's fine. Just like that. Yeah. Nice job. Okay. These over to you. There you go.
How much do you serve it with rice or just the way it is?
You can do anything you'd like. Today, I'm serving it with rice. So I made just some basmati rice. You can serve white rice, brown rice. It's also good with potatoes, just like potatoes, yeah. You could even put a little pasta and have it over pasta. Yeah, it's a great meal. Chili mac. And this, I was telling Colin earlier that this freezes really, really well as it is. So once you make it, you can put it in. Remember how we talked about putting in a zip top bag and smashing it flat and freezing it flat? So you can do that and have it for another day. This makes 4 to 6 meals, and those are pretty hearty meals. I made a pot of this morning, exact same recipe, and it made 17 of the servings that you'll have in just a few minutes. And that's a lot. I had it with rice. So, and that's a pretty significant amount. So, okay. So, we're going to watch it. We're going to bring it up to a simmer. And then once it starts, it'll take a little while for it to come up to a bubble. And once it does, then we will turn it down and give it a stir and leave that lid on and give it a stir every so often. And then we'll set our timer for 20 minutes. So the chili powder that is in your recipe today, the one that we used today, is chili powder that Steve and I bring back from the States when we go. It's a Mexican chili powder, but you could use any chili powder that you like. You can use, just chili powder from Morrison's works. And so we were trying to, I meant to get an absolute figure on this before we met today. And so the cost of this recipe in particular is so low, but it's so nutrient dense. You know, it's got protein, it's got fiber, it's got great vitamins and minerals. I mean, it's just such a great recipe, especially for the cost of it. So, all right, so let's talk about beans. So beans are cheap. I love beans. Canned beans are a little more expensive. However, you have to soak dry beans overnight and then cook them for a pretty fair amount of time. Now, if you have a pressure cooker or a slow cooker, you can throw it in that, and that's going to reduce the cost of cooking them. But really, when it boils down to it, cost of energy versus canned beans, there's not a whole lot of difference in price. And for the convenience, I like canned beans. But I also use dry beans as well. I just put them in my pressure cooker and cook them that way. But they're so cheap, and they're so nutrient dense. If you're looking for some inspiration for bean recipes, Jack Monroe, she's a cookbook author and just a really interesting person. She has some great recipes. Her website is cookingonabootstrap.com. She's got several books. So these are just some recipes that I thought I would kind of share with you. This red lentil and mandarin, tomato and beans. And you can see that she's got the cost per serving. So 26p per serving. That one's 20p per serving. Cuban-inspired beef, red, and black bean stew, 95p per serving. bread, bean, and fennel stew, 17p. When we did I think it was the pasta takeaway homemade, I told you guys about a pasta sauce that's made with tomatoes and bread, like stale bread. She's got a great recipe for that. It's like a tomato pesto made with bread, and it thickens it. It's fabulous. And then this is very similar to it, and it's got beans added to it. So you use stale bread to make this stew. It's great. Mushroom Rogan Josh, 26p. So these are just some fun ideas for some recipes. So if you're thinking, I'd like to eat more beans, she's got some great ideas. Beans are nutrient rich and should be part of a healthy diet. They're counted as both a vegetable and a protein. Greens and beans, those are things that we need to be eating more of, and we don't. So it's something that we really need to be consuming more. One serving, half a cup of cooked beans, provides about 7 grams of protein, which is the same as 1 ounce of meat. And the carbon footprint is significantly less for beans than it is for meat. Beans and legumes also keep us fuller longer because they're so rich in fiber. And animal proteins, not that I'm against animal proteins, I like animal proteins, but animal proteins don't really have any fiber in them at all. Beans and legumes are also higher in antioxidants, which is really important for preventing things like cancer. So there's a study that Steve and I were talking about before you guys came. So if you eat cooked beans or lentils, you get less than half of the blood sugar spike that you would get if you were to eat carbs like bread, pasta, or potatoes. So if you're going to eat white rice, have some beans with it, like we're going to have today. Or like chili con carne and rice. You would pair that with rice. And the more beans, the better. So substituting 1 serving of beans for 1 serving of rice is associated with 35% lower risk of metabolic syndrome or pre-diabetes. So why is it that beans have such a low glycemic effect? Well, they're higher in fiber and the absorption of them is slower. So this is a graph from the study that I was telling you about. So it's called the second meal effect. It's this concept that was announced around the early 80s. And it was announced by the developer of the low glycemic index diet. And basically, it just says that the effect of the first meal is huge on the blood sugar level after eating the second. So let me just kind of go over this with you. So if we're looking at this this graph, basically there's this study group, and they fed the people in the group their first meal of the day, their breakfast was either no food, which I would hate to be in that group, or a rice cracker. I'd hate to be in that group too. Or a soybean nutrition bar, which doesn't really sound that much better. But if you look at the left side of this graph, you'll see that the rice cracker, the folks that ate the rice crackers, their blood sugar spiked to almost 60. And then if you look at the soybean, theirs was much, much lower at less than 20. And then the no food, theirs didn't really do much of anything at all. Well, here's the cool thing. When they went to eat their second meal, their lunch, right? They all ate exactly the same thing for lunch. They prepared a nutritious meal, and they all ate exactly the same thing. And even though they ate the same thing, those that had the soybean bar for their first meal showed a lower level response to blood glucose level changes. So it's interesting, that what they're eating, what they ate. Oh, are you guys boiling? I am at a boil. Are you at a boil? You guys at a boil? Not yet? So Susan, keep your heat where it is if you're not boiling. Colin, you and I can turn our heat we just want to simmer is what we want. We want it to still be bubbling, but we want to simmer. Okay. All right, so going back to looking at our chart, this second meal was eaten like 3 hours later. And essentially what this finding shows is that beans not only help to moderate your blood sugar after you've eaten the meal that they're in, but it also helps to moderate your blood sugar for the next meal, which is crazy to me. It's like, how in the world does that happen? So a few weeks ago, Pastor Steve talked to us at our monthly Lunch and Learn about our gut microbes and why they're so important. And so our gut microbes love things like beans because they're prebiotics. And what that does is the bacteria takes those beans that are high in fiber and they produce these compounds that get absorbed in our system and they slow down the emptying of our stomachs, right? So it slows the rate of the food that's leaving our stomach and we don't get as much of a sugar rush. It's like this perfect symbiosis with our gut microbes and us. We feed them and then they feed us. So let's say, for example, we eat a bean burrito for dinner, right? By the next morning, our gut bacteria is having that bean burrito for their meal, and then they create these byproducts that affect how our breakfast that next morning is going to be digested. It's so cool how that works. Health authorities from all over the world universally recommend increasing the consumption of whole grains and legumes for your health. And one of the reasons that they do is it decreases insulin resistance, which is the defining trait in type 2 diabetes. So eating more beans is going to help decrease insulin resistance. Now this recipe today is awesome, but what's most important that I want you guys to take away is that beans are inexpensive. They make you feel fuller for longer. They're loaded with fiber and protein. They feed our gut bacteria and help control our blood sugar. Beans reduce our risk of heart disease, so beans are good for our heart and they're good for our entire body. And so that's really what I want you to take away from this course today. And this recipe is so simple. I mean, we saw how quickly it was just to throw some things together in a pot, bring them up to a boil, and we're just going to cook them and basically you're cooking this until the sweet potatoes are soft. So that's really what you're looking for. And then we'll let it cook a little bit more with the lid off and kind of thicken up, and then we'll be good to go. So what we're going to do now is, while we are letting that cook, is we're going to let you guys taste what we're making. So I paired it with rice, which is a good carb. It's a basmati rice, and I've got some over here. Love this rice. And then Steve brought some hot sauces. Let me get a tray. Steve brought some hot sauces if anybody wants to try some hot sauce. Does anybody have any questions at all about what we've talked about?
Yes.
Okay.
Why does that not promote it in the system?
That's a good question. That is a really good question. Faith, are you interested in trying some? Excellent. You're such an adventurous eater. I know. It should have been.
The hot sauce.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's your question.
Yeah.
Say you're saying you could freeze these.
Yes.
See when you come to eat them, you have to defrost them for a day, and you literally take them, cook them from frozen.
So, do you mean after it's cooked, or do you? Yes, after it's cooked, you can pop it in the microwave and do the frozen meal.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and cook it from frozen.
Right. That's
Absolutely.
I've never seen like Eden's frozen. You've got to defrost that to eat that. Because then you've
Got to think ahead. Yep, I know. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Steve, do you want to talk about the hot sauces that you have here, and let if anybody wants?
I can.
Okay. I'm just going to put this right here.
So there's several kinds of hot sauces. This is called Help Me Jesus sauce, and this is Tasha's dad's creation. And the one with the black cat is not so hot, very mild. The one with the white cat is made with ghost peppers, so it's got a kick. And then these two are hot sauces that I made. I just made them about a week or so ago. This one's called Jamaica Street, and it's kind of a traditional Caribbean. And this one is called Thin Heat, and it's basically what it is. It's just a thin, like pepper
Tabasco
sauce.
sauce?
Kind of like Tabasco, except it's made with Scotch bonnets, so it's a little hotter than Tabasco. This is also made with Scotch bonnets that we fermented, and we fermented both of them. So fermenting them first gives them, really brings out the heat and makes it.
Just put it on the top of the.
Yeah, I would just put. This one's spicy, this one's spicy, that one's spicy, this one not so much. Is this one?
Is that not so spicy?
That is the not so spicy, but it's absolutely delicious. You hear that, Mark?
Mark is my dad, so. So what do we think?
Set my sprays in.
Good. We can go ahead and turn this off. As far as these are concerned,
Yeah.
some, and then whatever's left.
Okay, for a glass of water. Just
Yeah, yeah,
spice it.
absolutely.
I don't know when things really spicy, that's what most of it. I'll try another one to help with Jesus.
You want a fresh,
Oh, it's okay.
fresh unheated enough chili. Yeah, you could make, you could eat
Ah,
all the
yeah.
time, you know, mix it to match.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I gave him an unheated one.
Oh.
To sort of mix and.
Okay.
That one's just the original Help Me Jesus. No, it's not. It's just, well, it's got a little heat, but it's not as hot as the white cat.
So the white cat's hot?
The white cat's hot. The other two are quite hot.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, I've lost my clip.
Throwing on something and.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So I think that's hot.
Yeah.
I think that's hot.
Yeah.
I'm just showing you.
It's actually hot though. I don't normally eat number one thing, but I thought, when you don't try it, it's nice, isn't it?
I'm trying to think of where I was standing when I tried it all.
Jesus, won't get it.
It was over
Oh, yes.
here, I think.
Is that hotter than that?
No, these are exactly the same. This is just a different one.
Mommy, I want the black
That's
one.
quite hot.
Did you get this?
So, yeah, I moved both of these, and they're with Scotch bonnet peppers, so they're quite hot.
I was going to ask this, but it's just much more
from my-
Sort of like, yeah.
Some it's black.
Sort of like a
Yeah, it's
hot
black.
brown.
It's okay, you guys eat. I'll tell James to keep an eye out for us when they have it. We'll find it. field vacuum, it's probably it just flew somewhere.
What do you think you were?
You can. You can. We'll find it.
We'll probably just cut this in off.
You want me to just stop at that?
No, because we'll cut it and then we can use the end.
It's not in here.
It might be emerald.
I'm so glad I've got you.
I was pretty surprised that it came unclipped. It's very pretty.
No. What do y'all reckon? Does it taste all right?
It's actually quite light.
Yes.
But you know it's not going to be uncomfortable when you're eating it.
Exactly.
Tasha, could I ask you a question,
Of
please?
course.
About storing beans. If they've been opened,
Yes.
then what would you do? Put them in a like a Tupperware, a sealed container, put them in the fridge? How long would they last?
Yes, I would put them in a Tupperware container or something. Don't keep them in the can. But you know, I was reading an article that somebody had written about, and I think it was really a helpful hint. They open the beans, put them in a container in the refrigerator, and then whenever they want to add some protein to whatever they're eating, then they add the beans to it, like a salad, or or even if you just sprinkle some over rice. I mean, if you think of it that way as kind of a protein condiment, it kind of changes your perception because they're cooked anyway. The canned ones are, but yeah, you would just keep them in the fridge, and they're probably good for, I would say, a few days. You know, you can also freeze canned beans. So if you open a can and you think there's no way I'll get through these, pop them in a zip top bag and stick them in your freezer. Yeah. They're great for thickening soups and stews as well. Steve makes a chili called Charleston chili, and part of the recipe for the Charleston chili is to take a portion of the chili out and blitz it in a blender and then put it back in, and it thickens the chili. So, yeah, and just makes it nice and unctuous. So how's everybody doing? Colin, you've got a nice rolling boil on yours. Yeah, that's good. That's excellent. Oh yeah, good job. So in about probably 5 minutes or so, we're going to take the lid off and we'll let it cook with the lid off. Thicken up a little bit.
And you're making sure
It is hot. And the sweet potatoes give it such a subtle sweetness, you know? Like normally when you use tomatoes in a chili, a lot of times they're sharp and you add a little sugar to them to kind of tone down the sharpness of the tomatoes. But the sweet potato just does that naturally.
The healthy Jesus is less spicy, I think, than the one in the silver cup.
Mmm.
It's really spicy.
This is
Do you
really,
like it with Jamaica spice?
yes, it is definitely. Was it Mexican night for Common Ground that the boys were going through the
Yeah,
different
we-
hot sauces? Were you here
brought a
for
few.
that?
We brought a few others, some Mexican hot sauces.
Mm-hmm.
They did a taste test. There were about a dozen of them.
And they were like eating it on digestives, like tasting it on digestives. It was so funny. Yeah, it was funny.
What about a
inside. What about the inside?
Not a bit.
And you don't miss it at all, do you? See, that's how I feel about this recipe. Such a good one.
You like that then? Yeah.
Good, I'm glad.
Good.
Good.
Eyes are starting to water. I
Mm.
don't know if that's possible, that will be that.
Yep. And you know, if you like spicy things, the recipe does call for a little bit of cayenne. You're more than welcome to put that in there, but the chilies, chili powder that we use has some heat in it because it's Mexican peppers, and so I didn't include the cayenne because I didn't want to, burn anybody's face off.
I used to love spicy foods when I was younger, but
Yeah.
I developed this acid reflux. I ate it raw every day, and I just, because I ate it, this acid up, it put me right off. I mean, I got out the day because it's early in the morning, but it's the morning, so it was when I went to bed at night and started to drop. It was horrible.
Yep.
It was like aversion therapy, I just put me off it.
Can I mention, Tasha just was talking about the chili powder having a little bit of heat to it. And that's something that you do find, is that different shops and different places, you'll see a container that may say chili powder. It may say mild chili powder or hot chili powder, but not all chili powders are going to taste the same because there are going to be blends of different chilies that have had different things done to them. They've been dried, they've been smoked. So don't think that just because it says chili powder, it tastes just like every other chili powder. They all taste different, and you can find the one that you really like, that you like best.
What was the big one we had? It was really good. Is that a Morrison's? Morrison's chili powder?
Yeah, it is
that
really
seems to
good.
be really nice.
Yep.
And they're like 40 pence, 50p. Come on.
I know.
And it adds a lot of flavor for a little bit
And
of.
what a difference it makes to the
Huge
dish.
difference. Yeah, I'm trying to remember, we kind of went through and calculated what this would cost. So I think it was like a pound for the beans, 50p for the tomatoes. And then, the sweet potatoes were another 50p. And then the spices were probably 25. Yeah, what was the,
57
57p?
And that was for 4.
And that was for 4 servings, right? And this, like I said, I made this pot and that was what we ended up with, plus a few more servings, because I had this for breakfast.
So if you make this and divide it into 4 big, nice sized filling portions, 57p
Yeah.
each. And then add some rice, which is,
So let's go ahead and take our lids off. And you don't want to lose that simmer that you've got, so you may, just watch it, you may have to turn your heat back up again when you take the lid off. And then what we're going to do is that will kind of help reduce some of that liquid that's in there. Okay, it's getting there.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, that's looking really good. Nice. Yeah, go ahead and take your lid off. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. Perfect. That's a good bubble. Yeah, just give it a stir every so often and yeah, it's good.
Did you try the sauce?
Brilliant.
Had it.
And this chili is even better the next day. Even better the next day.
if you can make it.
If you can make it last until the next day.
It just hit me. That's not happening.
Yeah. So bring your heat up just a touch, Colin.
Oh yes.
have a tendency to walk away from my workspace, and I almost burned my risotto a couple of times when we did the rice class. Because I walk away worried about what y'all are doing, and I just kind of forget to pay attention to mine. So, but yeah, that's great. Yeah. Nice. Thank you.
Where'd you pick out?
Just take him. Just take him out.
Like the butter.
Yes.
There's a little oil in it, yeah, so we'll need to. Yeah, absolutely, that'd be awesome. Thank you. And these can go into the blue bin that's under that little. Yeah, there it is, right there. So that those can all go under there. Perfect. So that is closed up. Excellent. So you'll have the ingredients for another batch of this. And so when you go home, I would suggest going, because everything's peeled and everything, I would suggest going ahead and making it and then popping it in your freezer. And you could either do it in like the small bags in portion sizes, or if you think, well, I could have that for lunch for several days, then do it in a larger amount. And then just when you're ready, put it in the fridge and let it thaw overnight, and then you can just eat on it. Yes, absolutely. It'll keep at least a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. Yeah.
Just goes to show you the humble bean.
I know. And you know, I was actually thinking about the fact that we could have totally made hummus. You know, do you make your own hummus?
No.
Do you like hummus? I love hummus. Hummus is so easy to make. Do you make your own hummus? No, do you like hummus? No? So good. So you can just eat it with like, you can eat it with veg, or you can eat it with crackers, or whatever you like. Oh, it's so good. You can eat it in a wrap, yeah, with just some flatbread. And it's so, so good for you. So you just take a can of chickpeas, and you put it in a food processor, or you can use a mortar and pestle if you want to do it by hand. But you can put it in a food processor, and then you add, it's called tahini, which is just sesame seed paste. So you know what peanut butter is made from peanuts. Sesame seed paste is made from sesame seeds.
Wash my hands. See the texture of the stalk cube?
Yeah, absolutely. Right through there, help yourself. And so you just take that, you add a little bit of tahini, you add some garlic, and some lemon juice, a little bit of salt. Yes, you do drain the chickpeas. Yeah, pretty much always drain your beans. And you put that in your food processor. Now, what I like to do is I like to save a little of the liquid. Okay, so chickpeas are unique. The liquid that's with the chickpeas it's now called aquafaba. Don't ask me what that means, because I don't know. Bean water, it's bean water. And it's cool what you can do with it. Like, people make meringues out of it. You can use it as an egg replacement. It's crazy. Yeah. Google aquafaba, you'd be amazed. So anyway, but I like to save a little of the liquid, and then you turn your food processor on, and as it's spinning, you add a thin stream of olive oil to it. And then I'll add a little bit of that aquafaba because I don't want so much olive oil in mine. And the aquafaba kind of makes it lighter and fluffier. So I do a little olive oil, a little aquafaba, a little olive oil till I get the right consistency. And it is better than any store-bought you will ever find. And it's so easy to make. Yeah. Yeah. It's super easy. I can send you a recipe. It's really, really
She adds more lemon.
Yeah, and for Steve, I add a little bit of lemon zest and a little bit more lemon juice. Yeah, because he likes it.
Cayenne.
You can. Roasted red
There's
peppers.
all sorts of things, you know, that are in it. And
Yeah.
Red peppers, yeah, red peppers.
Roasted red peppers. You can add all kinds of stuff. More garlic, roasted garlic. You can add caramelized onions to it.
Right, that's it. I'm going to try that. Do you know what I think as well? I think it's quite expensive that the guy just at the same time in tubs. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's up in price. It's like,
I know. And you can buy the tahini, which is a little pricey, but you only use like a teaspoon of it, you know, at a time, and it keeps forever in the refrigerator. So it's kind of like peanut butter, same idea. It stays, it keeps.
Nice and same that as well, that?
Yes. Yeah, you'll need to kind of mix it because the oil will float to the top. You just mix that oil in, and then you just keep it in the fridge, and you can make your own hummus for
Aye, why not?
nothing.
You've got to try it. You've got to try these things.
I know.
And just,
And you can make it taste
Like you like it. And it's so good for you. That is another thing that's really good for you because it's got the nut oils in it, and that is because the tahini being, well, actually it's a seed oil, it's not a nut, so it's a little different. What is it that we, oh, it was pesto that we used the pumpkin seeds for as well. That's right. I was thinking about that the other day. But yeah, so it's got that good sesame oil in it, and that's good for you. And then the protein and the fiber from the garbanzo beans, chickpeas.
When you use it as a dip for raw vegetables, that's so healthy.
Yeah.
You know, because it makes you eat, you know, raw broccoli or raw whatever.
cucumber into it with a spoon. You can just
Yes.
like, what was it? Cucumber leg.
Stir your chili for me and let's take a look. And I'm gonna grab one of your knives and test out your, oh yeah. Yep. So see your sweet potatoes are nice and soft. See how I can squish that against your pot there? That's what you're looking for. So let's go ahead and turn yours off. Colin, you're probably there as well. Let me. Yeah. So see how I can. Oh yeah, that's perfect. See how that just smashes right up against there. Perfect. So you can go ahead and turn your heat off as well. We'll let that sit for a few minutes, and then once it's cooled just a little bit, we'll give it about 5 or 7 minutes, and then we'll put it in your takeaway containers. And you can have that for your tea. Excellent. And definitely tomorrow. You could, yeah. Now, do you guys want to take an extra recipe amount with you? Do you think you'll make another pot at home? Okay, good.
You see that's quite a lot. Anyway,
Yes.
quite a lot anyway.
Yes. Yeah, so that would be good for you for, you know, not just a couple of days, but then another batch in the freezer. So everything you need to make another pot just like that is in here. Yeah, that's exciting. Oh, I could probably turn mine off. Good. All right, I'm gonna turn mine off as well. And Steve, we'll have this for dinner.
Did you add any salt to that at all?
No,
So that is no special, the way that chili tastes is
yes.
only the salt that's in the.
Well, there's salt in the canned
That's what
beans.
I'm saying, it's only the salt that's in.
Yeah.
Don't add any extra.
So that's one thing that canned beans versus dried beans. Canned beans are going to have a little bit more salt. So you would just want to keep an eye on that. And then there's salt in your stock cube. Yeah. Yeah. How many do we have? Yeah. I was going to say, we're going to need several takeaway containers No. I've ordered some bigger ones, but they haven't gotten here yet. So, does anybody have any questions before I sign off and we stop our video? Any questions? Okay. Oh, I'm so excited to be able to share this recipe with you guys. It takes me right back to those days at Icebox Urban Farm, and we're excited about some of the programs that we're working on now. But I'm gonna just go through real quick. Don't forget, so next week is Holiday Entertaining Hacks, and it is hands-on. We are going to be we're going to be making some hors d'oeuvres and some mocktails. It's going to be really fun. So that's exciting. And then don't forget to join us for Common Ground. We have soup all day, and then we serve dinner from 4:30 to 5:30. Next week is sweet and sour chicken, right? Steve makes a brilliant sweet and sour chicken. And so we'll have that with some vegetable rice, and that's going to be really tasty. And then we have the concert coming up Monday. We have added a few more seats, and then we've extended the time that you can reserve tickets. So if you haven't done that, or if you know somebody that wants to come, let them know. So that's at 7:30 on Monday, 7:30 p.m. And then also we're having Christmas dinner here in the sanctuary on the 25th, Sunday morning. Doors open at 10:45. We're going to have the full Christmas spread. We're going to have some music, and we're going to sing carols, and we're going to pig out. So I'm pretty excited about that. And also, I just wanted to let you know that you guys are always welcome to join us on Sunday mornings. Doors open at 10:15. We eat together for about 45 minutes in fellowship, and then we start our service at 11 o'clock. So you're always welcome to join us for that as well. So before we sign off, I feel like I'm missing something, Steve. Our newsletter. We have a brand new newsletter since it's the beginning of December. It's back there with all of our other things. So, and that'll just tell you kind of what's going on here. But as far as the new programs that are coming up, we are going to be extending the cooking courses, and we're getting some funding for that. So we will continue to do them. As soon as I have a chance to work on the new curriculum, we will publish those dates. And then also we are looking to put together kind of this, what we're calling the Icebox Collective. And that's where we get together once a week. Everybody contributes, 2, 3, 4 pounds, and we work together to food prep, and then we take meals for the week home with us. So that's the plan for that. And as soon as I have the logistics and the structure for that, I'll share it with you. So I'm still working on that. As I just really feel like we're all so busy, and with the cost of food, one of the things, the guy, Robbie, who has donated some of the vegetables that we're working with, he buys them in bulk, and it's so much cheaper. I mean, he's buying these like 25 kilo bags of onions for like 5 pounds, and carrots, and it's beautiful produce. So I said, Robbie, if you can help us, source this with what we already have in store, and then an addition of a few other things, it could be so much cheaper for us. And then also, just being so busy and not having enough time, we'll all be able to work together, eat healthier, and for less. And so that's the whole point of kind of this Icebox Collective idea. So, yes, sir.
17th, our next Lunch and Learn.
Yes.
It's not a Lunch and Learn exactly, it's a holiday party.
Yes.
So not this.
Not
so
this.
2 weeks from today,
Yeah.
12 o'clock. Lunch and Learn's at 12 o'clock. We'll have holiday parties.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, that's all I've got for you. And I think we should be at the point where we can probably get our chili packed away. And thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.